Today's video is sponsored by Endel. So, you're probably wondering how I got here. Why is the Bioneer, well known as a functional training advocate, possibly training using resistance machines? Well, it's a long story. In the fitness community, which is a term I don't love by the way, there's a bit of an unfortunate tendency to think in binaries. Things are either good or they're bad. This is a shame because in reality there's very few scenarios where something is either good or bad. In most cases you can get something positive from nearly every training modality, every training idea, every exercise, every tool. You just need to know how best to apply it. One of the best examples of this, something that's been scapegoated for an awfully long time, is the resistance machine. Resistance machines of course being things like chest press and pec fly machines. Machines where you sit down, push a pad or a handle and thereby shift weight via a lever. This form of training has come under fire as being the most unfunctional you can be, if that's a term. For completely isolating the movement, for supporting the weight so that you're not using any of your own supporting muscles, and from just being far removed from the way we use our strength in the real world. As we'll see in a moment, I think this is entirely missing the point. Not only do I think resistance machines have a lot of benefits for specific groups, I also think they can apply more widely to pretty much everyone and be used as a way to really build some massive strength that you can't get any other way. So first, let's get the obvious things out of the way. Resistance machines are really useful if you're someone who is injured, perhaps a little bit older, perhaps very new to weights, if you're worried about dropping weights on yourself, if you're worried about tweaking yourself by moving incorrectly, then using a resistance machine is a really great option. If you're someone, for example, who's injured your legs, but you still want to train your upper body, one of the best ways to do this is by using a resistance machine. What's more though, you can use resistance machines to gently and safely rehab a injured joint or muscle, and I have first-hand experience of this. I haven't talked much on this channel about this, but I went through a period of about 2 years where I had a bad knee. It hurt me when I ran, when I squatted, and did all kinds of other things, and it's now completely gone. After 2 years of thinking this was just going to be it from now on, a chronic pain, I managed to completely get rid of it. And there are a few things that helped with this, but probably one of the things that helped the most was just doing really light leg extensions. You should never work through pain, but if you're able to move the injured site gently, this is a great way to get blood flowing, to encourage healing and recovery, and to strengthen the muscles and to improve movement patterns, and that's exactly what I was able to do. But I did say that I also think resistance machines have their place more broadly for anybody who wants to build impressive strength, and I think they can be one of the most effective and powerful tools for building max strength. Those of you who watch the channel regularly will know that I'm not just interested in building strength. I'm interested in human performance across the board, and that includes things like productivity and cognitive performance. And for that, Endel, today's sponsor, is an absolutely fantastic tool. So Endel is an app, and what it does is it creates personalised atmospheric soundscapes that can react to inputs like location, weather, even your heart rate if you have a compatible smartwatch. This one's really cool because it actually uses gyroscopes to respond to the way you're moving. It's called Move. These soundscapes can fit a variety of scenarios. They're perfect if you're trying to be productive, but you can also listen to them when you're unwinding, meditating, or trying to drift off to sleep. The app is based on known neuroscience, and it's been shown to boost productivity more efficiently than listening to your Spotify playlist, for instance. On top of that, there are special content partnerships with a range of cool and original artists. The app has these really nice visualizations as well, which I actually find aid with that productive mindset. If you want to check it out yourself, then the first 100 people to download Endel at the link below will get a free week of audio experiences. Thank you once again to Endel for sponsoring today's video. And now, on with the show. But I did say that I also think resistance machines have their place more broadly for anybody who wants to build impressive strength, and I think they can be one of the most effective and powerful tools for building max strength. And the obvious reason for this is that you can safely pile on a huge amount of weight. You can challenge yourself to lift something you wouldn't be able to do without a very good spotter, and even then it's a little bit, hairy. I used to do crazy bench presses with my friend who'd spot me, but these days I don't necessarily have someone strong enough to stand behind me, and I know that they're going to be able to lift that 150 kilograms off of me if I get trapped underneath. In fact, I usually train alone, and I don't particularly like asking strangers to help spot me, so I avoid my 1 rep max, and I avoid my 2 rep max and my 3 rep max, and instead I do things I can do for maybe 4 repetitions, and then I usually stop short of complete failure, because obviously I don't want to get pinned underneath. That's extremely embarrassing, and it can also strangle you. Even worse for something like the squat or the deadlift, where you risk injuring your back or getting trapped, underneath at the bottom of the squat. There are things you can do with pins, but there's still that element of risk. You can even just twist your body, tip the weight, find it's a little bit unbalanced. Conversely, if you're on a chest press, if you're on a leg press or something like that, you can put as much weight as you like on there. If you can't lift it, no problem. Also not that embarrassing because no one can really see what you're doing. And if you do get stuck, you can just drop it. It'll make a loud crash, but it won't go anywhere and it's not going to hurt anyone. Far, far safer. This means you can not only train with your 1 rep max, but you can really push and go beyond that. And this is important because when you lift a 1 rep maximum, you actually aren't performing your 1 rep max very long at all. The 1 rep max as an exercise takes, a few seconds, but even within those few seconds, only a very small portion of that is truly your maximum effort because of the strength curve, because of leverage, because of joint angles, because of momentum. So for example, there's going to be a sticking point in the squat. For many people, it's down the bottom. That's the hardest part for them. So that's the only point at which they're providing their maximum effort. So we're talking a fraction of a second. And you can't go higher than that. You can use things like accommodating resistance, etc., and that's obviously an option, but even then it's not a precise science. Conversely, you can load your 1 rep max and you can hold that sticking point. You can try and fight it, and then as soon as you're done, you can lower the weight slightly and go again, so that you really are providing your maximum effort for a much longer duration of time. And this is important because not only are you causing maximum muscle damage for potential growth, but you're also training that neural drive, the ability to engage that maximum strength. And this is what's really key here. So by doing that, you're teaching your body to recruit more motor units and thereby tap into more of the strength that you already have. Old-time strongmen and strongmen in general use things like overcoming isometrics to teach themselves to tap into even more of that strength. And you do this by teaching yourself to try and recruit maximum force. So by loading yourself up massively on these things and just struggling under them in a way that wouldn't be safe under a free weight, you can build much more strength and power. And you can even use resistance machines in this way as a form of overcoming isometric, whether you're getting to that point and then pushing against it, making it a kind of more natural, yielding isometric, but where you're doing your maximum effort, or you can literally just pile up the weight much higher than you can press and push against it. Or if you're more interested in hypertrophy, strength endurance, and max strength, combining those things, you can do crazy drop sets using resistance machines. So what I'll often like to do is I'll use the chest press, for example. I'll attempt my 1 rep maximum, then I'll drop the weight slightly and do 2 or 3 reps, drop the weight slightly and do 10 reps, drop the weight slightly and do a flush set until I'm completely burned out. And that way, not only am I training my maximum strength, not only am I training muscle fiber recruitment, I'm also training strength endurance. I'm also getting metabolic stress, loads of muscle damage, fantastic for building a lot of size. So if you're interested in hypertrophy, this is a fantastic tool too. And especially because it's isolated in this case, so bodybuilders can get a lot of use out of these machines, of course, because they allow them to isolate specific muscles. And at the end of the day, the strength you build on resistance machines is going to have some transfer, some carryover into those other movements. If you can chest press a huge amount of weight, then you will be able to bench press more than you could otherwise. Yeah, you won't have that balance or that feel for it, maybe the grip. And if you do also train the bench press, then you are going to be able to bring that strength over and apply it. Building that neural drive through the kind of overcoming isometric methods, you might see that this can translate to better, more powerful lifts. And this is where I struggle a little bit to understand a lot of people's reasoning, because the people who say that all you need are those big 3 lifts, bench press, squat, and deadlift, will also look down their nose at resistance machines. As I've said in the past, the bench press doesn't actually apply to very much in the real world, because when you lie on the ground and then press something over the head, you might have that pushing strength, but if you fly backwards because you're not that heavy, well then it's not going to be all that much use. And especially if you're arching your back, puffing your chest out and retracting your shoulder blades, who pushes like that? Nobody. This is not a practical exercise directly. And with the deadlift, that's probably the most functional of the big 3 lifts, but even then you don't pick things up in a direct line using perfect form, using a perfectly straight bar. We pick things up whilst twisting, we pick things up whilst moving, and so we need more variation if we want to cover every single aspect of our movement. This is why I think it's important to do things like twisting and moving in the frontal plane. So don't say that you can't get any benefit from resistance machines, because the benefit you get from resistance machines is just one step back from the benefit that you would get from those big 3 lifts. No movement perfectly matches everything that you're going to do, but by doing a wide range of things, we get a lot of those different benefits and we combine them in a useful way. We learn the movement patterns, we train the supporting muscles, and then we build the prime movers in a big, powerful way. And as for that neural drive that you can build by doing this, and as for those massive drop sets, yeah, they're game changing. They'll build a huge amount of strength, so don't turn your nose up at resistance machines. They're actually awesome. And that's all I wanted to say on the matter. Be really interested to hear what your thoughts on this are. Do you use resistance machines? Why not? Do you think that I'm talking baloney? And how do you integrate it into your training? I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're looking for a training program that actually doesn't really use resistance machines, but does use overcoming isometrics, as well as bodybuilding and powerlifting techniques combined with kettlebells, calisthenics, mobility training, even brain training, then you might like my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training 2.0, and you'll find a link to that in the description down below. It comes with an 80-page plus ebook and over 2 hours of instructional video, so yeah, check it out. Either way, thank you so much for watching this one, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.